Advayatarakopanishad. Advayatarakopanishad. One of the most important of the 20 Yogopanishads. Advayataraka Upanishad belongs to the Shukla Yajurveda, and as a tradition, the Upanishad has a Shanti Patha, a prayer before the study of the Upanishad. The Shanti Patha is the well-known chanting, Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavasishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Advayataraka Upanishad, belonging to the Shukla Yajurveda, expounds beautifully the various concepts of Raja Yoga, practice, methodology, philosophy, and the benefits and the results of the Raja Yoga. And of course, the name itself signifies it is Advaya, without the two, that is the non-dual, Advaitaha. Taraka is crossing over. So Advayataraka Upanishad is the teaching, is to cross the Dvaitas, Dvandvas, Dvayas, and attain and experience the state of Advaitaha. How to cross over, how to overcome, how to eliminate, how one can cross over this ocean of samsara sagara, and by crossing over, how one can attain and establish in the state of Dvandvatitaha, Nirdvandva Sthitihi, Dvandva Rahitya Sthiti, which is the Advaita Sthitihi, and which is termed as the Brahmi Sthiti, the Brahmana, the Brahma Sthiti. And that details systematically explained in the Taraka Upanishad, Advaya Taraka Upanishad. The Upanishad introduces a technique called Taraka Yoga. And the Upanishad itself begins the Adhikara, eligibility criteria for the practice of Taraka Yoga. Being a small Upanishad of 19 mantras, the first mantra itself is an exposition of the eligibility criteria for the practice of the Taraka Yoga. And what are the eligibility criteria? Athato Advayatarakopanishadam Vyakhyasyamoho yatayo jitendriyaya Shamadhi Shadguna Purnaya. The practitioner has to be jitendriyaha, who will be able to conquer the indriyas, jitendriya, conquer the indriyas, who has won over the indriyas. All the indriyas are under his control. The forces of the indriyas, the rush, the push, and the speed of the indriyas, the demands of the indriyas, the wants of the indriyas, the needs of the indriyas have been conquered. The indriyas are kept under watchful, careful observation. The indriyas have been properly maneuvered, navigated, and they are under the control of the buddhi. And finally, win over the rush and the push of the indriyas. Jitendriyatvam. This is one of the basic quality, eligibility criteria for the practice of Taraka Yoga. And what is the next one is Shamadhi Shadguna Purnaya. One who is Purnaha, embodied completely with the Shadgunas. Guna Sampatti it is called. The wealth of quality. They are Shamadhi, Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, then Shraddha and Samadhana it is. Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, which was beautifully explained in the Viveka Chudamani by Adi Shankaracharya in his, while explaining in Viveka Chudamani about the Sadhana Chatushtayam. He talks about Shamadhi Shatka Sampatti, he calls it. Shama, Dama, Uparati, Titiksha, Samadhana and Shraddha or Samadhana. These are the 6 qualities. The physical control, the physical senses are under control. The karmendriyas, the jnanendriyas are under control. Shama and Dama. Uparati, ability to be away from the objects of enjoyment. Titiksha, tremendous capacity of forbearance. And a sense of intense one-pointedness. Samadhana it is called. Ability to focus. And the last one is the Shraddha, tremendous confidence in the practice which we take up. So these are the basic eligibility criteria for the practice of Taraka Yoga. Then the Upanishad takes up beautifully the Taraka Swarupam, the form of Taraka. And what is the form of the Taraka? The state of the Taraka? The state of the Taraka is beautifully explains in this one that it is beyond the cycles of the Janma and Mrityu. And it is free, away from all the webs, all the waves of life. And it is beyond the illusion. And it is beyond the state of all our perceptions. That is the state of Taraka Sthiti it is called. Neti, 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 neti. Not all that what we experience. It is beyond all these experiences. And that is the state of the Taraka Sthiti. And how do we attain this Taraka Sthiti? The actual performance methodology, the technique of the practice of Taraka Yoga. The Upanishad gives 3 methods. One is the Antarlakshya Lakshanam, Bahirlakshya Lakshanam, Madhyalakshya Lakshanam. The 3 methods, the techniques of the Taraka Yoga. And this Lakshatrayam, the 3 Lakshanas, are beautifully explained in the Upanishad. And the first one is the Antarlakshya Lakshanam. You focus, contemplate, and observe, feel the inner experiences, the inner happenings in the mind. When the mind is quiet, withdrawn from all its external movements, when it has been focused within, not engaged in any external activities, then it gets focused in its own internal activities. a part of the mind which is focused within its own activity within, and that observation and that process, a guided process, a process where diligently the mind is moved, diligently and intelligently the mind is under the watchful control of the buddhi, keeps on understanding without wavering from its point of observation. That is the antarlakshya lakshanam. And this movement, the Upanishad beautifully describes, taking the mind from the Mooladhara. Then it goes into the direction of the Brahmarandra. On the way it passes through the Kundalini with the radiance, myriads of lighting flashes, and a very delicate form. And delicate form is beautifully given as the central thread of the lotus stalk. And that is how the light, the feeling, the effulgence, the inner light moving and rises up its outward journey. And this upward journey is very guided. It is done carefully. And this is done incessantly. And continue to see, observe, feel this effulgent light within and this radiance within from the base of our seat, the Mooladhara, till it is continued up to the Bhrumadhya, center of the eyebrows. Then a sound resembling is heard. Then both the ears are closed. When the mind is attuned to this state, observing, feeling and experiencing and actually seeing the light between the two eyebrows, then a very subtle whispering sound within the ears. This experience is the antarlakshya lakshanam. We should all remember these things are not created. These things are not generated. These are the things happening, but we are not aware because the mind is engrossed in things which are extremely external, intensely extrovert. Once this extrovert, exterior and external things have been deleted, removed, and the mind is allowed to be within itself, what is happening within is exposed. What is happening within is known. Till now what is unknown comes to be known. So it is not generated or produced or created. It is the unmanifested or the manifested came into our experience. This is antarlakshya lakshanam. Then what is the bahirlakshya lakshanam? Then the Upanishad describes beautifully that the ethereal space of a blue color, slightly bordering on the color of the indigo, then apparently shining like a wave of blood red color, but really orange, in front of the nose of the practitioner, at a distance of 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 matras, digit lengths. Matras are the units of measurement in the yoga and in the Indian traditional system. And that matras, there are radiant beams in a strange vision of the persons. And he sees, the practitioner sees radiant beams, rays sparkling like a molten gold, either at the end of his side glances on the eyes or on the earth. Such a sight gets fixed. And this is the experience, Bahirlakshya Lakshanam. You should remember, Bahirlakshya Lakshanam is dependent on the external. Antarlakshya Lakshanam is not dependent on the external. Then the description of the Madhyalakshya Lakshanam, that is intermediate perception. Beautifully, the Upanishad describes the methodology. The methodology is by seeing them over and over again. The sadhaka ensues akasha, devoid of qualities, no qualities, nirguna sthiti, then ensues transcendent akasha. Even it from the saguna level goes into the nirguna level. Takes the saguna as a tool, gives up, experiences the nirguna, and he drops off even that. So dropping off the saguna, taking up the nirguna process, giving up and before taking, and then dropping off, giving up the nirguna and experiencing the taraka. That phase between after dropping the saguna and taking up the nirguna, and after giving up the nirguna and experiencing the taraka, those intermediary spaces, that's why it is called as the Madhyalakshya Lakshanam. The Upanishad introduces a beautiful terms called as Tattva Akashaha, Surya Akashaha, and Akashaha. And that is the state of Manorahityaha, Nirmanasthitihi it calls it. And this experiences of the Taraka are of two types. Dvividham Tarakam, it says. Tat Tarakam Dvividham Purvardham and Uttarardham it calls it. And what is the Purvardham and the Uttarardham? And that is where the Upanishad beautifully elaborates on the types of the Tarakas, the twofold techniques, Taraka and Amanaska it is called. And after this twofold Dvividha Tarakam, where the Upanishad explains, one is the Tarakam and one is the Amanaska Tarakam. It is something like you use an external or an object even within the mind with mana, using an object, an idea, a concept, and the mind is dwelling on that. This is exactly the Saguna Upasana it is. It can be a Murti, it can be a Vigraha, it can be a Pratika, it can be a Pratima, it can be any idol, it can be any concept. This is all comes under the Taraka. And Amanaska is, you don't use any concepts. The sadhaka maintains that state where the mind is not allowed to move. No second thought is allowed to come. Or the entire focus and the sadhana is not to have any second idea, second thought. Only the one. Ekamatraha it is. Then for there, the Upanishad introduces beautifully the Shambhavi Mudra. It introduces Antar Bahyalakshe Drushto Nimeshe Unmisher Vijayatayam Satyam Shambhavi Mudra Bhavati, it calls it. What is Shambhavi Mudra? Advayatarakopanishad brilliantly explains. It says that in case of both internal and the external perceptions, where the both eyes are devoid of the power of shutting and opening, there occurs what is known as the mudra. Means the eyes are not moved. Eyebrows, eyelids, eyelashes, eye muscles, no part of the eye, no component of the eye has any movement. An absolute perfect stability in the eyes. And that state of absolute perfect stability is the Shambhavi Mudra. For people who see, for the sadhaka who practices Shambhavi Mudra, it looks like that no movement of the eyes, but even the drishti, even the chakshu, even the internal perception, there is no movement of the mind. Not just a movement of the eyes and the eyeballs, not only that, there is no movement of even the mind. That is the Shambhavi Mudra, it is said. And that is where then the Upanishad describes the Acharya Lakshanam, the description and the qualities of the Guru. Acharya Guru Shabdah Andhakara Syat Rushabdasta Nirodhakaha Andhakara Nirodhatvat Gururityabhidiyate. This particular mantra, the 16th mantra, is well known. As we keep on quoting this particular mantra when we talk about the Guru, Gururevam Param Brahma, Gurureva Paragatihi, Gurureva Paravidya, Gurureva Parayanam. Guru is the Param Brahma, Guru is the Paragatihi, Guru is Paravidya, Guru is the Parayanam. Gurureva Para Kashtha, Gurureva Parandhanam. Yasmat tad upadeshtha sautasmad gurutaro guruhu. Beautifully the Upanishad describes the qualities of a guru. The various qualities, importance, and the greatness of the guru. And of course the Upanishad concludes by the Grandhabhyasa Phalam, following a text, following a textual practices. A sadhaka following practices as in the text. What will happen? What should happen? And why he should follow that? That is an important dimension. And that is where the Advayatarakopanishad presents the importance of following a shastra, following a grantha, and practicing as per that. A shastra, a grantha is a record of the experiences of the sadhakas, and taking that as a guidance, one can evolve, one can expertise in the practices. So Taraka Yoga, Advayataraka Upanishad, talking about the Lakshatrayam, Dvidha Tarakam, then the Shambhavi Mudra, then the Acharya Lakshanam, and the Grandha Safalyatam. This is how beautifully the Advayataraka Upanishad expounds one of the important dimensions of the practice of yoga. And that is how the Upanishad says wonderfully, by practicing this method of the Taraka Yoga, one can attain the Advaya Sthiti. So this Upanishad explains the beauty of the quiet, silent, and deeply involved mind, where the mind is not only getting dissolved, the mind lost its mindness. The mindfulness is lost. Amanaska sthiti it is called. And that is the highest dimension of the Taraka Yoga. And that is the real state of Brahmi sthiti, Advaya sthiti. And this is the teaching of the Advayatarakopanishad Upanishad. Let us see other Upanishads also in our coming sessions. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.